Hello and welcome to Children's Sunday School Online. I'm Miss Rebecca here at Powell United Methodist Church, and I thank you for taking time out of your day and to getting into God's Word with me and to dig into Scripture and to learn what God's speaking to us. Okay, so last week we met a guy named Jacob, and Jacob and his mom, well, let's be honest, they made some questionable choices. So Isaac and Rebecca were married, and they had two twin sons, Esau and Jacob. And as life was getting older, it was time for Isaac to pass away, and so he had a special blessing to give to his son Esau. Well, Rebecca, the mom, she really wanted the blessing to go to her younger son, or the younger twin, Jacob. So Jacob and Rebecca came up with a plan to trick Isaac, the dad, and the brother Esau. And so Jacob received the blessing over Esau. Esau and Isaac were very upset about this being tricked. And in fact, Esau was so angry that he forced his brother to leave. And so there was a huge divide in the family. And Esau wanted to hurt Jacob, and Jacob had to leave the family. And it was kind of a mess, right? Sometimes when we make bad choices, we find ourselves in crazy situations and we stop and we think, why did I do that? Why did I say that? But so often we do not go back to people and apologize. In our story, God helped Jacob go to Esau and to ask him for forgiveness. God helps us make things right. So often we can't do it without God because we don't want to admit when we're wrong and we don't want to admit when we screwed up. But we need God's help to help us make things right. Your faith in action challenge was to do just that, to go to somebody that maybe you said something that was not nice, maybe you hit somebody, maybe you hurt somebody, maybe you took something that did not belong to you. But to go to that person and to ask for forgiveness. And we talked about how that might be really hard to do. But with God's help, we can make things right. Did you do that? I hope you did. It's not easy to ask for forgiveness, but as we learned in the story with Jacob and Esau, when we go to somebody and admit that we're wrong, forgiveness is a great thing, and forgiveness is really important. God forgives us when we make bad choices, and so we also need to own when we make bad choices, and we need to forgive other people. So, who are we going to learn about today? Today, we are going to learn about a young man named Joseph. And our Bible point is God has a big picture through ups and downs. God has a big picture through ups and downs. Sometimes our lives get kind of crazy. Things are really good and then things are really bad, and things are really good and things are really bad. And sometimes we have a hard time seeing through that. And what we realize today with our story of Joseph is that God can see the big picture where we only get to see a small amount, and God can help us through when our life is kind of crazy and chaotic. So our Bible verse is, "And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them." That comes out of Romans 8:28. I'm going to read it again. "And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called to according to the purpose for him." Sometimes our life is not going the way we want it to, but as we know, God causes everything to work for the good. And we don't always understand that or see that. But today in our Bible story, when we learn about Joseph, we're going to learn about how sometimes when life is not going great, God actually is making it work for his purpose and to help us learn. Okay, guys, so get ready for the Bible story. So we are going to hear our Bible story again from our Friends with God Storybook Bible. Again, my friend John gave this to me, and I really like this Storybook Bible because it tells the story from the point of view from the character. Our Bible story is actually chapters. We're going to be in the book of Genesis again, but chapters 37, 38, 39, 40, all the way through 50, which is huge and it's super long. And we don't have enough time to go through all of that. So instead, we are going to hear about the Bible story from the point of view of Joseph. And it says, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs by Joseph. All right, are you ready? All righty. Now, you guys don't have this one at home, so sit back and relax, and I will show you some pictures as we go. Remember, this is from Joseph. It all started with a robe, a very nice robe, if I say so myself. It had all the colors of the rainbow. My father gave it to me because, well, I was his favorite. I may have strutted around in it a bit too much, thinking I was a prince or something. I have had dreams about people bowing down to me. So, it's not surprising that it really bugged my 10 older brothers. It bugged them so much that they began to hate me. And it wasn't long before they started to plan to kill me. And they almost did. One day, they grabbed me, ripped off my robe, and sold me as a slave to some traders. Then they took my ripped robe, wiped some blood on it, and told our father that I'd been killed by a wild animal. That was a low point for sure. But God was shaping my story. So here's the picture. See? The brother's over there in the background holding that fun robe, and he's being taken away from his family. The traders took me to Egypt and sold me to one of Pharaoh's officers. His name was Potiphar, and I worked very hard for him. Before I knew it, he put me in charge of everything he owned. All in all, life was pretty good. That is, until Potiphar's wife accused me of a crime that I didn't commit. Potiphar was furious and threw me into prison. Once again, I was miserable. But God was still shaping my story. It wasn't long before the prison warden put me in charge of all of the other prisoners and everything that happened in the prison. The warden trusted me. God made sure of that. One day, a couple of other prisoners told me about some dreams that they were having. Thankfully, God helped me explain them, and sure enough, their dreams came true, just as I had predicted. So here is Joseph in prison. Later, Pharaoh himself started having strange dreams. No one could explain them but God, and God told me what to tell Pharaoh. I was able to warn him that everybody's food was going to run out, and he needed to prepare. Pharaoh was impressed, so impressed, in fact, that he made me second in command. I helped Pharaoh's entire kingdom harvest food and get ready for the years when food would be hard to come by. It was hard work, but God was with me. And here's a picture of Joseph talking to Pharaoh. Pharaoh was in charge of all of Egypt. Which brings me back to my brothers. When the famine came, people from all over came to Egypt to buy food. My brothers came too. When they arrived, they didn't recognize me. They even bowed down to me. But I remembered them, and I remembered the old dreams that I'd had as a child. Seeing my brothers made me cry. Actually, I bawled like a baby, but I didn't let them see. I could tell my brothers were afraid. If I had wanted, I could have killed all of them. But I loved my brothers. In a way, this wasn't really their fault. God had allowed everything to happen, all the ups and all of the downs in my life, so that I could help save their lives. My story was a happy ending. My father and all my brothers and their families moved close to me in Egypt. They had everything they needed and lived long and happy lives. God was with me, and God was with my family. Do you see him? Do you see the brothers bowing down to him? I never had any doubt that God was with me every step of the way, through the good and the bad, as well as the very, very good and the very, very bad. God was always there. It's amazing to think that God worked everything out for good in my life so that I could help my family. If I hadn't been sold as a slave by my brothers, I wouldn't have been able to give them food during their hungry years. So before we get to our message, let's go ahead and pray real quick. Dear Lord, we thank you for the story of Joseph. Help us to hear it, help us to learn about it, and help us to remember, Lord, that you are always with us. And even though we don't understand when our life is up and down, that you, Lord, are always with us. Amen. Okay, so let's get started, right? Oh my goodness. Ups and downs and a roller coaster. Sometimes in our lives, things are really good. Everything's working out. You got on your soccer team that you wanted. You're starting, you're getting A's, you're studying, you understand your homework, you're getting along with your family, you're getting along with your friends, and everything is wonderful. And you think, sweet, this is awesome. And you're up. And then sometimes in our lives, it kind of goes downhill, doesn't it? Maybe we forgot to study for a test and we got bad grades. Maybe, I don't know, like you look outside and you have soccer practice and it's pouring down rain and you really don't want to go outside and play or practice in the rain. Maybe your friends at school are not being kind and maybe somebody's making fun of you and hurting your feelings. Maybe your mom or your dad got a new job and you have to move and you don't want to move. Maybe a family pet or somebody that's really close to you, a family member or a friend, gets really sick. And our lives go downhill. And when our lives go downhill, we sometimes feel angry, we feel frustrated, we feel overwhelmed, we feel lost, and we even feel lonely. And sometimes we feel like we don't have any help and that we are all by ourselves. Joseph in our story had times like that too, when life was good and he was up, and when life was down and it wasn't so good. And so as we read the story, we're going to look at it and see and hear what God is teaching us today for our lives. Because that's how our lives are, right? Up and down. Now, kind of reminds me of a roller coaster. Do you like roller coasters? I love roller coasters. I love to go up and down and all the twists and the turns, and it's super fast, and I think they're exciting. However, I like to sit in the front car. Do you know why I like to sit in the front car? I like to sit in the front car because I like to see what's coming up ahead. I like to see if I'm going to go up a hill. I like to see when I'm going to go down a hill. And I even like to see when I get to the bottom so I know that it's over. I like to see when all the twists and the turns are coming so I can be prepared. But life is not really a roller coaster, is it? We do not get to see what's coming ahead. You might think it's going to be a great day for soccer practice, but boom, it could start raining at any moment. We could think that everything is going our way, and then just like that, everything changes. And we like to know what's coming up ahead. If you notice in our story of Joseph, he did not know what was coming. Things just happened. And when our life is up and when our life is down, what I love about God is God stays constant always. Did you know that when your life is going wonderfully, that God is with you? And that when you have your downs and you're overwhelmed and you're sad, that God is still with you. God does not change. And I think that's one of my very favorite things about God. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about Joseph, because that was a crazy story. So Joseph, so a little bit of background. So do you remember Abraham and Sarah? Abraham and Sarah had baby Isaac. Isaac got married and he married Rebekah, and Isaac and Rebekah had the twin boys, Esau and Jacob. We talked about at the beginning. Jacob stole Esau's blessing and he was very angry with him, and so Rebekah, the mom, sent Jacob to go and live with her family far away. While Jacob was there, he got married and he had a family, and he actually had 12 sons. That's a lot of sons. And one of the sons' name was Joseph. Now, Joseph was not the oldest one. In fact, he had 10 older brothers. So he was number 11, and then he had a little brother named Benjamin who was 12. Now, here's the interesting thing about Joseph. Joseph was the favorite. His dad, Jacob, loved Joseph better than anyone else. In fact, he loved him so much that he gave him a really special fancy robe. He did not give that fancy robe to any of his older brothers. And so when Joseph would wear that robe, he would walk around and say, "Look at me and look at my robe. Look how awesome it is. Oh, you don't have a robe? I have a robe." And his brothers, they did not appreciate that. They did not like the fact that their little brother was the favorite and that he got things that they didn't. They were jealous. What about you? Do you ever get jealous? I think we all get jealous about things, about different things. Maybe you're jealous that friends of yours got a video game that you really wanted that you don't get to have. Maybe a friend of yours got a new soccer ball, the coolest one, or a new pair of soccer cleats, and you were like, "Man, those are awesome. I really want that." Maybe you're jealous because your friend's parents have a really cool sports car and you wish you had a sports car. Maybe you're jealous because your friends got to go on vacation and you didn't get to go on vacation. And then then when you're around that person keeps bragging about it. "Oh my goodness, look at this. Oh, I went on vacation and I got to do this and I got to do that and you didn't get to do anything." And we start to get frustrated and we start to get angry when people around us are bragging, and we get jealous. And maybe, just maybe you are like the brothers, where you're like, "I'm tired of being around this guy. I don't want to be around him at all. In fact, I think I want to take a break from my friendship because he's driving me nuts." This was Joseph and Joseph's brothers. And in fact, not only did Joseph get this big fancy robe from his dad, but he also had these dreams. In one of his dreams, and then he told his brothers about it. In one of the dreams, he said, "Hey, guess what? I had a dream that you actually end up bowing down to me and I'm in charge of you." And his older brothers are like, "What are you, crazy? That's not the way it goes in Bible times. The oldest brother gets something and then it goes from the next one to the next one to the next one. In fact, Joseph, you're like number 11. You're not going to get anything. What are you talking about?" And Joseph was like, "Oh no, you're going to bow down to me." It frustrated his brothers unbelievably. In fact, they didn't like being around him at all. One day, when the brothers are out working in the fields, the dad, Jacob, says, "Hey, Joseph, go out and go talk to your brothers and go out and tell them something." So Joseph goes out and he finds his brothers, and his brothers see him coming from far away because he's got that big fancy coat on with all the colors, and they're like, "Oh, look, there he is, coming down right again. I wonder what he wants." And so they come up with a plan. They say, "You know what? If we get rid of Joseph, he won't be Dad's favorite anymore. If we get rid of Joseph, then maybe Dad will love us even more." And so as Joseph comes closer, the brothers make a plan to kill him. and to take off his robe and to put some blood on it and take it back and say, "Look, Dad, a wild animal got Joseph and he's gone." But then the oldest brother said, "No, we can't kill him. Hey, look over there. There's a caravan of people coming. Oh, and look, they are buying slaves. Instead of killing him, let's sell him. We can make some money. Dad will never know. We'll still tell Dad that he died from an animal. We'll take his coat. We'll take it back. So we get rid of the brother, but we don't even actually have to kill him. We'll just sell him." So that's what they did. And so off Joseph goes. Now, if you think about it, at the house, Joseph was all, his life was an up, right? His dad loved him. He had brothers and he had a family and he had a nice house and he had nice things. He had that fancy robe. But now he's sold. His brothers sold him. Can you imagine how that must have felt? And so off Joseph goes with the slave traders. And the brothers go home and tell their dad, "Hey, Joseph died by a wild animal." And they thought that their dad was going to love them more. But instead, their dad was heartbroken. Jacob was heartbroken that he lost his son Joseph. And he was not happy and he was sad always. So their plan didn't even work. So off Joseph goes. And so Joseph goes and he's working for this man called Potiphar. Joseph's not in a good situation. But Joseph is still believing in God and following God. And so Joseph is talking to God. And so Joseph says, "Listen, if I'm here, I'm going to still work really hard. I'm going to work really hard because I serve the Lord." And so that's what Joseph does. He works really hard. And pretty soon Potiphar's like, "Oh my goodness, you're awesome." And he promotes him up. And so now he's really powerful in Potiphar's house. Except Potiphar's wife lies and says that he committed a crime that he did not commit. And so Potiphar gets super angry and super frustrated, and he throws him into prison. So here again, Joseph was up, and now he's down, and he's living in prison. And while he's in prison, he says, "Okay, I follow God. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm just going to keep working hard. I'm going to keep working hard for God." So while he's there, the warden trusts him. And so Joseph becomes in charge in the prison. And before long, some people are talking about that they have these dreams. And Joseph says, "Hey, I know what your dreams mean. Let me tell you." And so he tells them what the dreams mean. And he was right. Those people's dreams turn out to be true. And so years and years and years and years pass. And Joseph is still living in prison. And pretty soon Pharaoh, who's in charge of all of Egypt, starts having dreams. And one of the guys that Joseph helped in the prison says to Pharaoh, "Hey, when I was in prison, I met a guy named Joseph, and he could interpret my dream. Pharaoh, maybe he can help you." So Pharaoh says, "We'll go and get this guy." And so up comes Joseph. And Joseph says, "Pharaoh, I cannot help you with your dream, but God can. And God can help me tell you what your dream means." And so Joseph does. And Joseph tells Pharaoh what his dream means. And Pharaoh's like, "Oh my goodness, you, Joseph, are awesome. And your God is amazing. I am going to take you out of the prison. And now I want you to lead everything of mine in Egypt. I want you to handle everything." So Joseph goes from being in the prison, which is a down, and now he's raised up again. And he's the second in command in all of Egypt. Now, Pharaoh's dream was interesting. Pharaoh's dream said that they were going to have 7 years of a lot of harvest. So a lot of crops were going to grow. And it said, but don't waste it all. Don't eat it all. In fact, store it up. Because after those 7 years of good harvest, we are going to have 7 years in all of the land when there's going to be a famine. And so there will not be any food produced. So we're going to need to hold on to that to help us get through when there's not any food produced. And so Joseph put all of this in practice. He stored up all of the grains, he handled everything, he made sure everybody was taken care of. And so the famine came. And Egypt stored up all of this food, so they had lots of food to give to other people. So people from all over came to Egypt to buy food and to get food. One day, when Joseph is out there, he sees his brothers. His brothers, they do not have any food. They're starving. And so they do not recognize him. They do not know that that is their brother Joseph. In fact, they sold him into slavery. Why would their brother be in second in command of all of Egypt? But Joseph recognizes them. And he's overwhelmed with emotions. And he actually goes away and he kind of hides and he cries. He's not overwhelmed with emotions because he is angry at them or he wants to hurt them. At that moment, it dawns on him that God has had a plan this entire time. God has had a plan to have Joseph be in this spot at this time to help him take care of his family. So his brothers come, and Joseph finally says, "Hey brothers, I am your brother Joseph. And even though you meant to hurt me, even though you wanted to get rid of me and what you did was not nice and it was wrong, it's okay. I forgive you, because even though you meant it for wrong, God was working. All of those moments when I was down and I was sad and I was lonely and I was hurt and I was upset, God was with me and God was working in me to get me here so I could help take care of all of these people and you." And so they hugged and they went back to their homeland and they told their dad, Jacob, what they did. And they came and they lived in Egypt, right around Egypt, with Joseph. And so Joseph was with his family. Joseph did not have the ability to see that all of those times when he was sad, upset, or overwhelmed, or didn't get what he thought he wanted, was actually a part of God's plan. So often in life, we think that if we follow God and we listen to God and we follow the Bible, that we are going to get everything in life that we want. We're going to get the fancy cars, we're going to get the big houses, we're going to get the great jobs. Everything in our lives will be wonderful and will always be up. But God does not promise that. God promises that when we are up or when we are down, that He will always be with us. He will be constant. He will be never changing. In fact, sometimes when we choose to follow God, sometimes it feels like, that we don't always get what we want. But what we have to remember is that God is in charge and God is in control, and everything happens to glorify God in some way, even if we cannot see the big picture, if we can just see the small picture. God sees the big picture, and God is always working for me and for you and His entire kingdom. So even like Joseph, through our lives, when we have ups and downs, we need to remember that we can talk to God, we can go to God, and we can trust God. Did you notice in our story today that even when Joseph was sold, when he was in prison, he didn't say, "God, why are you doing this to me?" He said, "Dear Lord, please be with me and help me through this." And so that is our daily prayer, right? Dear Lord, please be with us and help us get us through this, because God can see the big picture and He's always with us through all of our ups and downs. Okay guys, let's go ahead and go to the video. And I think you're going to like this video because it's a rap and it tells the story again. So enjoy.
Yeah. He's talking about Joseph, man. You see, young Joe knew that he had to work wherever God put him. Let me tell y'all a little story. Yeah. Check. Welcome, my friends. A young Joseph's where the story begins. Young Joe, he was full of dreams. Meanwhile, his brothers was full of schemes. They didn't like what he said, so they wanted him dead, so they sold him instead. Far from home, young Joe sat in a prison cell all alone. Until one day came, he heard the voice of the guards call his name.
Hey, Joe, Pharaoh's had a dream, and he heard you could tell him what it means. This could cost you everything. Do you think you can do it?
He screamed. Young Joe replied, I'm just a man, but with God by my side, yes I can.
From rags to riches, the prison to the palace. Wherever God put him, Joseph always did his best. So work it out now. We work where God puts him. So work it out now. We work where God puts him.
So young Joe went to see the man named Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, let me tell you about my dream. Hopefully you can tell me what it means. I saw 7 cows pretty and sleek, and they ate like they was hungry. Then 7 more cows that were ugly ate all the cows that were pretty. See, young Joe, can you help me out and tell me what this is all about? Young Joe looked at Pharaoh and said, yes, I can tell you about the dream you had. See, it all starts with 7 years of plenty, then 7 years of famine. Pharaoh said, you are right again. Now I will make you my right hand man. Like
from rags to riches, the prison to the palace. Wherever God put him, Joseph always did his best. So work it out now. We work where God puts him. So work it out now. We work where God puts him.
So how does the story end? Well, similar to the way it began. See, Joseph was right about the dream. He stored up food in the years of plenty, so that way when the famine came to be, he already had enough food for the needs. And everyone came to Joe to survive. Even his brothers, they didn't know he was alive. They came to Joe, but they didn't recognize until he revealed himself before their eyes. He said, it's me, the one you sold away. I'm now second command in this place, but I forgive you brothers for the past. God sent me to take care of that last. You are here, God has provided enough. See, we gotta work where God puts us like that.
Rags to riches, the prison to the palace. Wherever God put him, Joseph always did his best. So work it out now. We work where God puts him. So work it out now. We work where God puts him.
So no matter where God puts you, we know we gotta work. One hand in the air. Sing it with me now.
Work, work, oh no, we gotta work it out. Work, work, everybody come and sing it now. Work, work, wherever God chooses to put us now. Work, work, oh we gotta work it out. He went from rags to riches, the prison to the palace. Wherever God put him, Joseph always did his best. So work it out now. We work where God puts him. So work it out now. We work where God puts him.
Okay guys, did you love that video? I love rap. I love all kinds of music, but I actually really enjoy rap. Jalen and I bond over it very much. So here are a couple questions about that video. So it says, he went from rags to riches, the prison to the palace. Have you ever seen your life turn around from bad to good or good to bad? And then it goes on and it says, wherever God put him, Joseph always did his best. What does it look like to do your best even when life is in a down time? We know Joseph's whole story from the beginning to the end. What do you wish that you knew about your life that maybe you could see in years to come? The God's big picture for your future. God has a big picture through ups and downs, and we can't usually see the whole picture, but we can trust in God. This week, you have a faith in action challenge. And in fact, in your dig in at home stuff that your parents can print off, it's actually in there. So in case you forget, you can go to this right here and have your parents print it off, and it tells you what the faith in action challenge is. And it says, this week, our faith in action challenge is to be like Joseph. Not bragging Joseph. We don't want that. And if you are doing that, stop it. But the Joseph that trusts God through all of the ups and downs. What kind of difficult things have you gone through? Hard times at school or at home, sad times with friends. Give it all to God. Remember that God is always, always, always with you. This week, I would like you to, on a piece of paper, write, God is with me, or draw a picture of you and God together, and then put it somewhere that you will remember that you are never, never, never alone. And when you have those down moments, when life does not seem to be going your way, you can remember, I'm not alone, I'm not alone. God is with me. And remember to talk to God every day and to go to prayer and have a conversation with God. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get ready to pray right now. Dear God, thank you for the story about Joseph. Thank you for teaching us that we will have ups and downs in life, and to not get so overwhelmed when life is not going our way, but to go to you and to talk to you and to ask you, Lord, to help us through them. We know, Lord, that you are in control and you can see the big picture. Help us to work hard and to always glorify you. Amen. Okay, guys, well, I hope you guys have a great week. So there's music that's attached to this underneath. You can go ahead and go to those links and check it out. The songs are What If by Matthew West, Glorify by Jordan Feliz, Right on Time by Aaron Cole, Cling by Lion and Bear, and My Jesus by Ann Wilson. Also today, if you guys are not doing anything on October 24th from 3 to 4 o'clock, come to church and come and hear our author visit, Kate David. She is amazing. She and her kiddos, Murphy Maddox and McKay, actually go to our church, and she's going to be reading a story for us. It's going to be in the sanctuary from 3 to 4 o'clock, and you can even come and dressed up, because we are going to imagine. God has given us these amazing brains to help us imagine and to help us realize that when things are difficult and things are challenging, like writing books, that we can keep going and we can keep working hard and we can glorify God. So come and hear Miss Kate David read for us one of her stories. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Remember to continue to pray to God, and remember that God sees the big picture and that He's always with you in all of your ups and all of your downs. Okay, guys, have a great week. Bye.